You're listening to 1019 WDET. I'm Nick Austin, and right now, pretty excited to be joined in studio, but not just one, but two artists that I really loved playing back in the day on Soul Saturday. One based here in Detroit, one not so much, but we won't hold that against you. I'm talking about, first of all, composer and piano player Derrick Benford. Derrick, how you doing?
Hey, how you doing? I'm great. How you doing,
Great
Nick?
having you here. And, of course, Chantae, Cann. I don't know. Should I bill you out of Atlanta, Chicago? Like, what's the best way?
You've done some research. Well, I mean, I have a place for both of those places in my heart. So Atlanta is home now.
Right.
Been that way since high school, but I did grow up in Chicago, and I was actually born in Cleveland. So there's like a Midwest connection, and then Atlanta right now.
Well, that's going to always endear you with some of the folks that we have here, right? Because Detroit, Midwest, and I know we have so much love for folks in Chicago and the scene there, and then Cleveland. This is great. So let's just get started here from the beginning for both of you. And since you're the visitor, Derrick, if you don't mind, we'll start with Chantae. Is that all right?
Yeah, that's perfect.
All right.
Hospitality, man.
Beautiful. Chantae,
Blessings.
it is a
Yes.
daunting decision, I have to believe, to get into music, singing like you did. Before we get into the new music, before we get into some of my favorites, let's just talk about the beginning.
Okay.
When was it you decided music, I got to make a go of this?
It was a gradual progression and a realization that I think happened over time. One that I didn't think would be what it is today, obviously. Growing up in a very musical family, my mom was a music teacher at the school that I went to. So I was around music. My dad, he exposed me to all types of genres. He's very eclectic in his listening style. So I was in the household, and I knew that music moved me in a way that it didn't move like the majority of my people, like my age. You know, when you're a little girl, you're like, oh, everybody's not locking themselves in their rooms and listening to the harmonies of Take Six and Bobby McFerrin and, breaking down all the vocal runs of Brandy. Oh, nobody's obsessed with this the way I am. Okay, cool. So I'm a little different. But I feel like I was kind of cultivated to create my own desire to want to make my own. And so I was a pretty shy, introverted child growing up. So I also, once I learned that I could sing or that I did have an ear, I didn't want anybody to know that. So I kind of kept it a secret between me and my family. Yes, no lie. And my mom, she would kind of, make me do these musical things. I was in piano lessons for a few years before I decided not to do it anymore because I wanted to do my own thing. So then I learned later on in this church, this youth group that I was a part of, I was kind of like forced outside of my comfort zone, and some person was like, yo, this girl can sing. And I was like, oh no, why did you tell anybody? So literally somebody told on me that I could sing. And the rest kind of was history from there.
Oh, who would have thought tattletaling would go back?
I was so nervous, guys. I mean, I was frightened beyond my wits' end. But I think being in a place where I had to be afraid and do it anyway or do it scared, that kind of set the precedent for opening some doors in the future, getting to sing background for India Irie, getting to connect with the people in Atlanta from the Atlanta music scene, like Jazz Specs, like PJ.
Oh, we're going to get into
that. Okay, I don't want to get ahead of you, but I'm just connecting the pieces.
I love it.
Yeah, so that's the short end of it.
Awesome. Before we loop Derrick back in, though, you did mention your dad's eclectic taste in music, which I think you do find with a lot of folks who come up and decide to make singing or music a go of it. It's that idea of being able to have that background and such other things.
Absolutely.
Were there any artists or musicians groups that were really inspirational or formative to you in deciding to make a go of it?
I always freeze on that question because I know that it's coming.
Yeah.
But there are just so many people that I was listening to at the time. People like Michael Franks, geniuses, like I said, like Bobby McFerrin, that sort of thing. Take Six, obviously, with all the harmonies. I was like, wow, there's more than 3 harmonies. This is really crazy. I'm just thinking it's soprano, alto, tenor,
right.
But there's so much more. Yes.
I mean, those are good things, too.
Layla Hathaway, I have to add her, too, because she's one who really, really helped me form my solo identity, I believe. When I heard her do what she did and like just there are no limits to her vocally, I personally believe, and I was just like, wow. I saw this video of her and Marcus Miller do People Make the World Go Round, and I was like, ooh, I really, really love this. So she was a very pertinent inspiration in my life.
Love Layla Hathaway. Derrick, I want to loop you in, though, because you also have a start from an earlier age, and you're doing it right here in Detroit. So can you just let us know a little bit of your background and how you got into playing them keys and making a go of it in music?
Well, of course, the city of Detroit, it's church, right?
Oh,
City of
yes.
Detroit, we're the home of church music and great gospel music, and we just have some great artists gospel artists coming out of the city. And so I started in the church. My father was a pastor. And then my musical journey began basically in high school when I got introduced to like the saxophone and jazz and Take Six. And before Take Six, it was Singers Unlimited.
Oh, yeah.
And then
Alliance
with Merv Warren. And so those harmonies and the bass and the acapella and these, sharp nines and sharp fives, that really just intrigued me and got me more interested in pursuing like the jazz side of the music.
I love what you guys are bringing up here, right? Because Take Six was also very important to me. And, hearing about a cappella music and things, right? When you talk to your friends, a cappella, you put that on in the car, someone might look at you a little bit funny.
Absolutely.
But those folks who are breaking down those layers and you're getting that education even before you're creating the music is what I'm hearing. And you guys are known very much for your harmonies. We're going to get into the new single that you released, new music coming out for 2024. But pivoting back to moving and getting our start, what would you say was your big break, Chantae?
Ooh. I feel like there were several.
There were. I know.
An amalgamation, if you will.
Yeah.
That's a big word for today.
Yeah.
It's NPR, so it works.
I'm awake, So I would say my big break would have been being discovered by some very pertinent people in the music community in Atlanta at Apache Cafe. Because as I was growing in my music in my church, and as I was growing in that comfortability and creativity on my own, I also started doing open mic nights, which is also another thing that scared me to death. But I'm so glad I did it, because that right there, like the combination of my church music and also doing the open mic nights, that together kind of really, really lit a fire. And I was like, wow. And the people would do like these shed sessions forever and ever and ever, and it would just never end. And I'm like, oh, this is my happy place. Like I can stay here forever. I would just get lost, close my eyes, and really not even realize how long I was there for, because it was just like this out of body experience. So one of those, or like more, kind of led to me meeting some amazing producers in Atlanta. Jamie Portia is one of those people, and also in me growing in being more comfortable in my sound, a young lady by the name of Amitria Dock, who is also one of my big sisters. She is actually from Racine, Wisconsin, so she has a lot of love for the Midwest as well. But I got to shout out to her because she was my first sort of musical mentor before I even knew what that was. So she kind of like took me and like under her wing, and she was a force to be reckoned with vocally. And she was already singing background for India at the time. And so she came to me and was like, hey, there's an opportunity. There's an opening up for about a month. Are you interested? Like all I have to do is just like say, hey, my little sis is ready, and she can put me on. And so I ran away from it for a little while, and then I finally came back, and I was like, okay, I can't say no to this opportunity again. So that to me was my first mainstream background singing gig, which led to even more opportunities and eventually me.
So important to have that support. So important to have people there who trust in you, believe in you, won't take the first no. Sometimes you just got to say, hey, you don't know. Like, I'm hearing it in you. And that's great. When you talk about open mic nights, some of those are legendary. We hear about them in Atlanta. Is that just you with a microphone and nothing else? They got to give you a background? How does that work for people who haven't gone?
Okay, so typically The whole point of open mic is to go with other musicians, is to vibe with other musicians. It's like this like playground of it's like a musical conversation basically, and a lot of it, like 99% of it is improv. So a lot of times you go in, you may think you're singing one thing, but it may turn into 10 different things, or you may not have any idea, and then it turned out to be like something just mind-blowing. And like all types of people like go to these places, all types of musicians from all different calibers that are performing all over the world, because music is Atlanta, So, and everywhere is influenced by Atlanta music. So I just kind of an honor and a blessing to have been in that circle at the time that I was.
Yeah. And it's that language. You mentioned jazz, Derrick, when you were talking about it. And one key part of this is you have the vocalists, they can do what they want, but them session musicians, the guys on the keys are so key to putting it together.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys always get the respect, man. I want to hear about it because I've seen you do it.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about what you would say was your break in getting out here playing the keys and making it go?
It was definitely the open mic scene here in Detroit, right? I mean, that's pretty much all of our starts, right? Where we just get out there, we're brand new, we want to try this thing, we want to try the music, we're scared to death, right? So we start with those cover songs, and then those cover songs morph into relationships and networking, and then writing sessions, and then all of a sudden, you kind of develop your own sound. You kind of develop your own style, right? And so then you get discovered. Then you get, called for the gig. You get called for this. They love your sound. And then next thing you know, you're traveling around the world, going to do a show somewhere, overseas. And so, that was a lot of our breaks, those open mics.
It leads to new music. It leads to connections. One that you mentioned earlier, Chantae, was Jazz Specs. And I know that when I heard Find My Way to Love, I said, this is something I'm going to have to keep an eye on. So it's one of those tracks that, I know sometimes artists don't like talking about the old stuff. We're going to get to the new stuff, I promise you. But they won't let me out of here if I don't ask you about something.
You're fine. You're fine.
Beautiful. So
this is your show.
Tell me, Find My Way to Love. How did that song come about? What should I be listening for when you create it? Any stories? Okay,
so check this out. I have to state the fact that I did not write the song.
Sure.
Literally, the leader from Jazz Specs, T Brown, shout out to T Brown. I love him. That's my brother. I'm so happy for everything that he's doing right now, and I'm happy to be connected to him still. So he, another force to be reckoned with in the Atlanta music community. He went to Morehouse and, met all those guys there. So there was a early camaraderie, and there was like this almost cult following in Atlanta when Jazz Specs was first doing, shows and everything. So that's one of the people who found me at Apache and was like, oh my goodness, like, who are you and what are you doing? And can we like connect on some stuff? So that kind of started that relationship. And then that led to me going to their shows and us doing collabing in the Atlanta music scene. Then T Brown was like, hey, I got this song that I really, really want you to be on. And I was like, okay, send it to me. Let me see what it's like. And it was like called Find My Way to Love. I'm like, okay, cool. So he sent me the demo of his voice. And with his voice singing, I was like, ooh, I really like this. Like, it spoke to me. I mean, the melody, the words, for sure. The instrumentation of all of those live instruments in this really, really straight ahead jazzy form, which was something that I was still kind of new to. And so when I tell you, like, he had me come to somebody's house studio, I mean, it could appear as as a suspect situation,
right,
looking from the outside.
Sure.
But the way it turned out, I think was exactly what it's supposed to be. And so it was an honor to even be asked by the guys. T Brown and the guys of the group wrote the song. A couple did the lyrics specifically, but I don't even think I realized how much of a reach or an impact it would have, or that I was ready for, because I'm just like, okay, I love this. Like, these are my guys. I love music. I love them. Love the song. Let's do it. So I don't think I realized, like, all these years later that it would be something that people would actually like bring up like very, very fervently. So I appreciate you for that.
I love that. And when I hear what you're talking about, how that's a track created by somebody else, and they're like, no, I need this voice on it. You know, I know you compose music, Derrick, you're a composer also. That inspiration when you're creating a track like that, are there specific voices when you're in the moment creating music that you're like, I think this would fit, or do you pin it and then you think about the voice? How does that work
Definitely,
for you?
Nick. That is the process, right? You have, first you get the inspiration, and then you kind of get your ideal that you're going to put down, and then all of a sudden you just feel something. I don't know what that is or what that thing is, but you just know, okay, I need this person, or I need this musician, or I need something, you know, that's unique, and I know who it is, and I'm gonna reach out to them and I'm gonna see if I can get it. You know, but you just know, like, you as a musician, you just know it's just something about us that we just know.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Sure. You know, when I hear you, Chantae, on songs like Find My Way to Love, Da Da and Da, which we'll get into, and so much on Journey to Golden, there's this kind of airy, breathy, angelic quality to it, a little bit lighter that I might
breathy.
say. You know, gotta use my adjectives carefully here.
Fine.
But the point is that while we're so used to so many of these powerful voices, and I'm sure you have it, you kind of have this light way that I hear with songs like these. Is that an intentional quality here? Is it like, nope, that's just my voice, or is that what you're going for? What's happening there for you?
Right. Also, I think both ends, you know.
Yes.
Growing up in church, there were instances in which I knew I was singing too much all the time and too hard all the time for my voice. So I realized, like, at an early age, like, somebody else may be able to do all this hard singing all the time, but I don't know if it's really suiting my voice. So there kind of was an intentional awareness about it, and that kind of led me to, okay, well, I don't have to necessarily sound like the typical church mold or the typical church choir singer. No shade on any of that, because it has its purpose. But I know for me, like, I wanted to sing in a way that felt good to my voice, that my body, you know, would be able to, like, honor that, you know? So I was like, no, I don't have to yell and scream. Like, the power is in there at the, you know, allotted moments, but I don't have to do all of that. So I think that made me fall in love with that airiness, with that breathiness. I, you know, started to listening to other people who influenced that vocally, you know, musically, all the things. So it played a part.
Not enough water with a splash of lemon to try to survive a bad voice. It's just not happening there. You got to take care of yourself. And I do appreciate having variety in sounds and being able to hear different things. We spoke with you, Chantae, a little bit about Jazz Specs, Find My Way to Love. That's 2009. We're looking at moving into this single, Snarky Puppy, Da Da and Da, on that also, right?
Yep.
Can you tell me the story behind that song? Anything specifically we should be listening out for there? Because I love it.
I really want to know the story.
Yeah.
Listen, I got to go back into my archives, y'all.
I mean, I can play it for you if you need some inspiration. I got it here.
So I always say I'm going to try to give the short version, but that never
No, I want the long one. I'll cut it. We can edit.
Reel me back in. Okay, so essentially, this is how Da Da and Da came to be, right? I was chilling at the crib with a musician homie of mine. His name is Anthony Dixon. Very, very talented pianist and producer. And so I was doing this, we were kind of hanging out, just, you know, creating things. And so he was playing these changes over and over and over and over. And so that melody that you hear, well, it just started off, it just started off that, right? Because that's something that he would kind of play at church sometimes. And so one time we were kind of just hanging out, and he was playing it in a relative key, so he was going back and forth like da 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 da. He was like, oh well, wait, what if I like change a key here and do like a little a key change, and then bring it back. So I was like, okay, cool, I like that. So essentially, that's where the pattern da 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 da. So he was just playing the keys, and I was leaving a voice note, like trying to remember the melody. So that's why I said da da and da. So how I recorded it in my voice notes was literally how the album turned out to be, kind of, sort of. Yeah. And so I was like, okay. So I recorded a demo on my computer. And I was like, oh, I really, really like this. So, I was just like, okay, let me just do like a little placeholder. I don't want to overcomplicate the song because it's a very, very beautiful composition. So let's just keep it. Okay, we'll just keep the chorus like literally da 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 da. When you sing this song, love will sing along. So Snarky, one of my homeboys that is in Snarky, Sput Seawright, who introduced me to the band. We go way, 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 way back. So he was like, yeah, I want to introduce you to Snarky, come check us out. We're in your hood. I would love to invite you to a show and maybe you sit in. I was like, oh, okay, say less. So that was kind of that in me, my first introduction to Snarky. And I was just like, man, this is insane. First of all, I didn't know that he was playing in Snarky. He was like, yeah, come to the show we're doing. It's like me and like 11 other white dudes. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'll check it out. But he didn't tell me there was Snarky Puppy. And he was like, oh, I didn't think that you would know who we were. So that's how far back it was. Okay.
Yeah.
So the connection was made. Then at that time, Mike League was doing this deal to any of his artist friends. Basically, all they would have to do is book the session and Snarky would come and be the band.
Wow.
So that's how,
That's
so that's
amazing.
Where how Da 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 became Snarkified. That's where Free Your Dreams became Snarkified, because that is an original of mine as well. And so I was like, okay, me and Anthony Dixon were like, say less, let's make it happen.
Yeah,
So,
no, that is beautiful to hear, especially interesting with the da da and da, because I know singers, sometimes you'll think of melodies, you'll have placeholders, but then the lyrics come at some point in time. But this
Yes.
is one where you decided, no, I mean, you have lyrics in the, main key, but in terms of that chorus, I'm sticking with the da da and da. Did you
Yeah.
try to put words on it, or?
I don't even know. I really think like I had that it factor without that. And I was like, I don't want to overcomplicate it. There comes a point sometimes when you have to let the song sing itself. You have to figure out what the song wants to say. What does it want to do? So I'm just very in tune to that because I'm listening to all of the instrumentation. I'm listening to what it possibly could be. And so when Snarky came in and we kind of partnered on that, I was just like, yeah, there's no need to overcomplicate anything. Literally. I want it to be more of a medicinal melody than like oversaturating it.
Yeah, we're speaking with Chantae Cann as well as Derrick Benford. They're going to be performing on Saturday, April 13th. We're going to get into the show a little bit as well as your guys' collaboration, new music coming out for 2024. But before we get into that, Derrick, looping you back in to learn from the perspective of the man behind the keys, of the composer. I know that you love these great chords. You were talking already about them, you know, major, minor, nines, 13s. You know, I want flat five. I want all of it, right?
I want a flat-footed five.
Right.
Come on. Right? I
today.
love that stuff, right?
Yeah.
But with all of those layers, fitting in vocals sometimes can make it feel maybe a little bit complex. So when you hear Chantae talk about how she said sometimes less is more, what's that process like for you balancing it out? Do you have an example in some of your work or something you worked on where that came together?
Well, take for instance the single. I sent her the bed track, just real minimal, because when you want a vocalist to sing on top of it, you want to have all these extra, piano movements and all these melodies. You kind of want to have it open and free for the vocalist to kind of create and have space to, do what it is that they're going to do. And then after the vocalist does what they do, then you come back and you kind of listen and you kind of see like, okay, well, how can I fit the music around here? Okay, what chord can I change here? Maybe I can add a horn or something like this, or some strings. Maybe some strings would be more beautiful here, right? So it's just all about getting that bed down first. and then letting the vocalists do what it is that they're going to do.
Yeah,
So,
that's wonderful. And Derrick, you're talking about the track "Realized,"
Yes.
and which features Chantae, Cann. We're going to be playing some of that also. But Derrick, is this part of a new album then that you're?
This
gonna
is
be
a part of a new
releasing?
album. This is a part of a new album.
Have you released a solo project?
I haven't yet. And my wife has been encouraging me over there. Shout out to my beautiful wife, Dominique, over there.
Yeah.
And to my Detroit family for just encouraging me to, go ahead and take that leap of
Because
faith.
that's a big step. You want to talk about stepping out in front, especially when you've been behind the keys. And again, I got to show respect to the session musicians. You guys are so key. I'm saying, hey, you guys don't understand. These guys are fantastic.
Yeah.
But it takes something to put yourself out there like that on the solo project. So tell me, Derrick, how did it come together and you decided to finally make this jump?
Well, I decided to become vulnerable, right?
Come on now, that's the first
That's
step.
what it is. You have to be vulnerable, right? Once you make that decision to be vulnerable and put your art out there and be open to whatever it is that's going to happen, positive or whatever feedback. Once you accept that and you just know that, okay, this is what it is, then I think you can just move from there, right? And so not only that, but though you become more free to create how you want to create.
Absolutely.
Right? This is what it is. This is what it's going to be. This is what my sound is going to be. Miles Davis said it takes a musician a long time to accept the sound, right?
Ooh.
And so I think I'm kind of stepping into
real.
that right now. And then not only that, I have, just the support to go ahead and do it and the encouragement to do it, Reached out to Chantae. She said, yes, I'm definitely down to help you out. Yes.
Well, how did you guys even link up in the first place, right? Because I feel like if I reached out to you, Chantae, saying I wanted you on my track, I might get a nice,
there might be a redirection
Yeah.
to the business email. I know somebody who you can talk to.
Yes.
Sure do.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
But how did you guys connect?
So Chantae came to Detroit.
Yeah, we just told the story like 2
Yep,
seconds ago.
she came to Detroit, and usually I'm one of the guys that they call to play when a new artist comes to Detroit or an artist that has never been here, and there's a specific type of sound that they're looking for. And she came to Detroit. I got the call to play, and then from there was just another show out to L.A., and then COVID happened. We had planned something, but COVID had shut us down.
It did. Shut us down.
And then after that, we just the relationship kind of just developed more from there. So,
I just need to step in and say the show that he's talking about was one of the
most awesome shows.
One of my favorite
It
shows
was the
ever of
greatest show
myself,
ever.
and I don't even say that. Okay, I don't even know this
It was
dude.
so
He comes
great.
from out of nowhere. I got to shout out to our bass playing friend, Mr. Matt Ryan,
Matt
right?
Ryan, yep.
Because he was part of we call the Dream Team,
Yeah.
and my MD and drummer Josh Foster, who held it down. He was literally like the cornerstone in this configuration. But I was just like, what in the world is going on? Like
Crazy show.
these musicians, like the type of freedom that I felt was so key. Like there was a lot of improv in that show too. And I love it. Like for me, the more improv, the better. I know I gotta hone it in these days. I get it. The kids, the attention span ain't that long. But back then, I was like, oh my God, this is life. I need this. So we were just like, yeah, this is a match made in heaven.
Yep.
We want to do this as often as we can.
Oh, man, that's
Yes.
great. Well, a new album is a great reason to do it. Chantae, before we get into your new album, Derrick, I don't want to leave this thread. You've got the new album. That when's it coming out, and what should people listen into for?
So the single is out now. Then there will be another single out in May, and then shortly after, I'm thinking about July, the whole album will be released. Right?
And is there anything specific that people should be listening for? What are you trying to accomplish with this project?
I'm just trying to tell the story and through my sound, and that's basically what it is. And I have some great people on the album, and I'm
Who
so
are
looking
they?
forward. Well, I can share.
Who are some of the
can.
people?
We have Dave McMurray that's going to grace the album. Nate Watts as well, bass player. Of course, Chantae is on the album, and I'm gonna leave it at that.
A little sneak peek. I mean, I was curious for my own self.
Well, that is fair, but you also, we shouldn't sandbag that you have some new releases coming out. In fact, 2024 may have been the year of Chantae Cann. You're just rolling them out there.
Listen.
Hey,
We back.
And we hadn't heard
We
from you
outside.
in a second. I, of course, referenced some of your older work, the Polka Dotted Stripe. I love that name, by the way. Journey to Golden, of course, is the album that I think a lot of people associate with you. Why was 2024, though, the time for Chantae Cann to come back in a big way?
Well, as Derrick stated, after COVID kind of put the world on pause, there were some songs that were being created before the pandemic. So I think the songs that were able to like cross over into right now and still be able to release, and nothing kind of like lost its, I think if anything, we put more into it and just made things more intentional and more purposeful and more meaningful. Because it's like, man, there was a time when we didn't know when this was going to come out,
right?
You know, so this just happened to be the year that it said, I want to come out. So I followed that and just put, you know, the bells and whistles on, put the final touches on. There were some things that were written more recently. And I think the match between the more recent things to the older things kind of just made this third studio album a nice reintroduction, I like to call it, to my music and to my artistry, and to like kind of bringing light to the elevated state in which I feel my life is right now, and accepting the elevated version of who I am right now.
Okay, well,
and not shying away from it anymore.
Well, that has been something that I've been hearing a lot of from people and artists, especially coming out of the pandemic. I think it's something that people are feeling. Another thing people will be feeling, I'm sure, when they hear it is Flamingo, the latest single. Can you tell me what should I be listening for into it now that I know that you love all of the flattest of fives? What should I be listening for when we're checking out Flamingo?
Okay, to me, Flamingo, well, first of all, it's kind of like a cutesy love song about going all around the world with somebody that you love. So to me, Flamingos represented love, lovebird, you know, kind of like just little cutesy, like I want to travel around the world with you. Like, you know, when you have that person that it doesn't matter where you go, you can go to the backyard, you can go to Santo Domingo, you can go across the world, but that having that person that you love by your side, I feel like it was there was also some Michael Franks inspiration, because I'm very much, he was one of those people who taught me I didn't have to yell. I didn't have, because his voice is just nice and peaceful and fun and playful, and his music is life-changing. So if anybody who does not know who Michael Franks is, please look him up.
You know, I'm glad you said that too. Listeners here will probably know it. When I interviewed Dwele, Derrick, Michael Franks came up. He absolutely. He said Michael Franks was very important to what he was listening to when he, and you know, you talk about those layered sounds, and you know what Dwele does with the Dwele horns and all of that stuff. So
that makes so much sense.
There you go, a little connection for you.
I love that. I love that. So that's kind of the vibe of Flamingo. I also want to say, okay, do you guys remember the Beach Boys song? Mandigo.
Oh, yeah.
So that was kind of a low-key inspiration for those who are aware. Kokomo. That was kind of a vibe as well.
I literally, like you, I had to sing the whole song in my head, and I eventually got there, so it was cool. So Kokomo and Rhythm and Revelation Volume 1, 10 tracks expected on this. What is the story behind that album?
Woo. How much time do we have? No, okay.
I mean, it's up
I'm
to
kidding.
you at this
No. We ain't got that much time.
All right.
If it's up to me, I'm just kidding. So Rhythm and Revelation. So truth be told, I had the title way before anything was finished. So there are times when I go into this kind of this like creative hole, if you will, and just stay there and just I write out things. I write out titles. I write out concepts. I write out lyrics. So sometimes things I may think may be full songs just end up being track titles. They end up being album titles. They end up being a concept for something else. And sometimes I may hold on to it for a very, very long time, but thank God for the voice memos on my phone, because they have been literally saving my life. But I just knew with whatever next project I wanted to release, I wanted it to make people move. So I knew this one was going to be a little bit more rhythmical for me as an artist. To me, I feel like the entire body of work, like there are a lot more standalone tracks, in my personal opinion. That happens obviously when you put out music. The older you get in your career, you're just a little bit more solid when you do that, or at least that's the goal. So I just feel like this is a true representation of where I am in life, personally, musically, creatively, spiritually, all of the leads across the board. This is just the perfect, and there was so much revelation that happened in the past few years, from 2019 all the way during pandemic, all the way till now, that has made me who I am, and has just played such a huge part in this project and who I am as an artist.
Anything specific you want to share?
I don't know.
All right, well, you don't have to. Just checking.
Yeah.
It's come up a bunch.
Come back.
All right, very good. But one way to get people to move is to literally have them come to your show.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys are going to be performing in town again, April 13th, Saturday, St. Clair Shores. Derrick, tell me about the show and why people need to check it out.
Well, you need to check it out because you get to hear some new music.
Mm-hmm.
And with Chantae's album, I mean, you can just hear her, where she's at in life right now. I can really hear it through your songs. We were riding down the freeway listening to everything. I'm
literally
just like, you're taking it somewhere else with this album. And so not only that, with my music, there's going to be a sound that just needs to be heard and needs to be shared. And I just hope that people will appreciate it. And I know they will. You know, it's Detroit, so we're the home of some great music. So.
All right, where's it happening specifically? Do you got a location or a place people can go to find out more info?
St. Clair Shores Hook, SCS. That's where it's at. That's the venue. Mm-hmm. And right now, I believe it's totally booked out, but there is standing room. So
come on, that's a good problem.
That is a great problem.
We are receiving a ton of love, and then once they found out that Chantae was going to be performing, it just went up to another level. So.
Yeah, my God. Well, hey, you got to come back, right? Are we gonna have a second show? What are we gonna do?
Because we booked and busy now.
Yeah,
we gotta do a whole tour.
Well, then I gotta let you guys go. Get prepared for the concert.
Yeah.
Happy to do that.
Yeah.
Before I do, though,
Thank
any
you.
questions I should have asked you that I failed to? Something you need to get out there. I don't want you to say you were on my airwaves and you didn't get to say it.
Should I talk about the documentary?
Yes.
Or
no,
just wait?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, he says wait.
That just means we'll have to have you back.
Absolutely.
All
We'll
right.
go into it in more detail.
Beautiful. Chantae Cann, singer, songwriter. Derrick Benford, pianist, composer.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us on 101.9 WDET.
Thanks, Nick.
Thanks for
Appreciate
having
it.
us.